Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Capes on the Couch, where comics need counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko, as always, joined by my good friend, Dr. Issues.
Hi, everyone.
As always, you can find these episodes on our website, capesonthecouch.live. We are distributed through the Libsyn Network. You can check us out on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. And as we announced last week, we have our new Patreon, patreon.com/capesonthecouch. You can support us at the $1, $3, $5, or $10 levels. So we've already got one or two patrons. We very much appreciate your support. Woohoo! As I said, our first goal is $17 a month to counter our Libsyn hosting fees. And once we reach that goal, we've got a couple ideas for things beyond that. But that's really the first and foremost goal, is just trying to cover our host fees. So last week we did a non-hero hero in Deadpool, and this week we get into another offbeat hero, though certainly not nearly as random or wacky, but I would say just about as effective of being a hero as Deadpool, and that is Booster Gold from DC Comics.
Okay, I'm just going to say that I've been looking forward to this for a long time, because I think Booster is the person we need to avoid being for most of our lives. And you'll see why as we get into his story.
Yeah, you've been pushing for Booster for a while, and you've been slagging him about as long as we've been mentioning him. So I'm very interested to see some of your takes on Booster. I happen to like him. Now, I'm not much of a DC guy, so granted, my exposure to Michael John Carter, as he is known, is limited. But I like the concept of Booster, and I like the way he's been portrayed.
I will say the best part about him is that he's been consistently portrayed, no matter who's handling the comics. He has certain traits that are going to carry out no matter what. That's a positive thing. Having said that, the traits that he actually carries out consistently are pretty mediocre. So you don't become a hero and a champion if you're a C+ student.
I think that's a fair assessment of Booster. So, as we always do, we'll start with the background. So, he was created by Dan Jurgens in February 1986. This is right after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the whole massive reboot of the DC universe. And so, he was the first really new hero that was created after that reset. Everybody was focused on Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and the Flash and the big name heroes. And I think it is befitting for the character that he was created in the midst of all this, the larger names, more popular, iconic heroes, and then also Booster Gold. I think that just fits in with who he is. So he's a time traveler named Michael John Carter. He was a disgraced quarterback. I think he was betting on games in his own timeline of the 25th century. So he's a disgraced quarterback, and he ends up working as a security guard in a museum in the 25th century, I think in Metropolis. Mm-hmm. And he decides to become a hero. And in order for him to do that, he needs to go back in time, because since he knows the crimes that are going to be committed, he can show up and say, I stopped you and I defeated you and look how awesome and amazing I am, and recapture that glory that he felt that he lost from throwing games. So with the help of his security robot Skeets, they go back in time. He's got a suit, the yellow and blue with the goggles that become basically his iconic costume. So he goes back to fight crimes that he can predict. So, and it's funny, from the very beginning, he was a screw up. His football nickname was Booster. He wanted to be known as Gold Star, as a superhero. But when he finally gets his big, breakthrough, and he gets to reveal his heroics to the public, he screws up his name. And so Ronald Reagan goes, oh, so your name is Booster Gold. And he's like, no, but, and the name stuck. So he starts off as kind of with the lower level members of the Justice League. But the cool thing is that we get to see him pair with Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, and this becomes a really bromantic bond. The two of them, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, I think, have one of the best friendships I've seen in comics, just the way that it's been written consistently.
Yeah, they basically play well off of each other. I mean, you have, someone like Ted Kord who basically struck gold, no pun intended. He ends up in a situation where he has mystical powers based on the situation. And you have Booster Gold, who's artificially trying to become a hero and not doing so well at it. So they feed off of each other in a positive way. I'm not being sarcastic when I say this. Basically, it's, okay, I have something good thrown at me. What do I do with it? As opposed to, wow, I'm really trying hard to, force something good to happen. Why isn't it happening? That's the type of thing that you could play on forever. And yeah, they do a great job writing the two.
So he ends up leaving the Justice League. Then he forms a conglomerate, which is basically a sponsored superhero team. Because again, and we see this as a recurring theme, Booster is money hungry and egocentric and, fame hungry. So he creates a sponsored superhero team, but they have issues because the sponsors want them to fight, want them to do certain things, or don't want them to do certain things. And the team just ends up breaking up.
He treats this the way you would like a franchise, or a sports league. I mean, I understand. There's nothing wrong with the idea of earning a living for doing good in the world. To be honest, that's kind of what I think I do. There does come a limit to what you can expect that to accomplish. You just can't basically sell your soul for the sake of getting more well-known or getting a little more cash. Come on.
So Booster has a unique place in DC history. He's the one who comes up with the name Doomsday for the alien that, spoiler alert, comes and kills Superman. But before he kills Superman, he beats up the entire Justice League. He nearly kills Booster, and Booster ends up losing an arm because of it. Later on, he discovers that Maxwell Lord is responsible for killing his good friend Ted Kord, and he has this moment of reflection where he's like, I could have stopped him if only I'd have done more. So he ends up returning to the 25th century because he kind of feels that he's a failure as a hero. And that's, I don't want to say necessarily a recurring pattern that we see with Booster, but he goes through these moments of self-reflection and these epiphanies because he realizes that he could be more, he could do more, but does not. And we'll certainly get into that later on. Then after the Infinite Crisis event, he becomes this character named Supernova, or we initially discovered there's a character named Supernova who Booster is trying to stop. Then it later is revealed that he's using time travel to create this villainous identity so that he can fight himself as Booster and become a greater hero.
I guess I have to say that that's good planning. But once again, you have to put on an act for everything? Incredible. How many times does he do this? The answer is every time.
So then we see a storyline that I happen to like, or I think really speaks to the character. He tries repeatedly to go back in time to stop Barbara Gordon's paralysis, as we see in The Killing Joke, and he finds he's unable to because through comics logic, there are certain moments that are so immutable in time that they happen no matter what you do. So he tries every method to stop the Joker from shooting Barbara in the spine, and none of them work. But Batman kind of appreciates this and says, anytime I can help you, you're a good hero, you're a better hero than you realize you are, and I can assist you in becoming that better hero if you need it. So then he befriends and mentors the new Blue Beetle, Jamie Reyes, because he feels that this is a good way for him to honor Ted, who is still dead at this point. And then he becomes the new leader of Justice League International, and he starts to become a little more of a respected hero, and he becomes, I guess, the hero that he thinks he could become and he is capable of being.
Right. And part of the reason that happens is that the other members of JLI give him that encouragement. He initially says, this is too big for me. I shouldn't be the leader. And they're the ones that encourage him to do it. So the fact that he had external influences that were looking out for his best interest put him in a positive direction. That's actually something he doesn't really get most of the time, with the exception of Blue Beetle. And you gave the example of Batman, which, by the way, that's going to turn.
Yes, we'll get to that in momentarily. So then the New 52 comes around, and this is the DC reboot, entire universe starting fresh. So in the New 52, he's once again the glory seeker. His reputation is in tatters, and he's the fame seeker who's kind of a screw up. It's sort of like, again, the reboot of the character. But the time travel then comes into play, because then he's going back and forth between the New 52 and the pre-Flashpoint universes. He's the father of Rip Hunter. That gets brought up at some point, and we eventually learn that the future Booster Gold becomes a time master, and he's this phenomenal hero, and then he, again, mentors Rip. So he realizes that he does become a great hero, but in order for him to do that, he has to be known as a failure. In order for him to do good, he has to be seen as not doing good. So he can never really achieve that greatness that he desires, or at least not be publicly known for it. And I think that's a really fascinating concept. And you can only get away with that in a character that has the time travel abilities like Booster Gold.
A little offhand comment here, but it's one of my favorite sayings. I'm putting my spin on it because it has many translations in Taoism, but one who boasts of his accomplishments does not shine. That's something that I try and live my life by, actually. The idea that, yes, always strive to do your best, always strive to accomplish as much as you can, but whether or not it's recognized by other people is irrelevant to the value that you're giving to the world. And in that moment, when Booster recognizes that, that's actually where I really came to appreciate how he was written as a character. It's okay to fail forward, meaning it doesn't matter how many times you mess up over and over and over again. If at some point you're able to accomplish something positive, just enjoy it for what it is and don't worry about what other people think.
If you fall down 7 times, get up 8. So this is like a very recent thing, and I'm talking like within the last couple of weeks. In the current run of the Batman comics, Batman and Catwoman, Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, are engaged to be married, and Booster's great idea for a wedding present is for Bruce's parents to attend the wedding. It sounds really nice. It sounds like a good idea.
To me, I disagree, because my first thought when I saw this headline, it was kind of clickbaity, but the point being, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be zombies at the wedding. I don't know if anybody ever wants zombies at a wedding, but go on.
Huh. I know a couple of people I think would think that was a really kick-ass and cool idea to have zombies at their wedding, but I digress. So he comes up with the brilliant idea to go back in time to save them from being murdered so that they can live in the future timeline to attend Bruce and Selina's wedding. Except that is such an integral part of Batman's history that the version of the future that he creates is one in which Batman or Bruce Wayne never becomes Batman and Selina Kyle never becomes Catwoman. Except that's not enough. Now he still tries to convince Bruce and Selina, who have never met, to get together and marry each other, even though they have nothing in common. And in this version of the timeline, they don't have the on-again, off-again history that Batman and Catwoman do. And I think Bruce may even be married or with someone else. And Catwoman, or Selina, isn't really Catwoman, but she kind of is, and she's crazy. She's kind of acting like a cat. I love how they snuck in the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman suit into the canon of the comics, because that is kind of what a person who doesn't have a whole lot of resources would create to look like a cat.
So I'm going to focus on some of the psychological parts to this. So Bruce loves the fact that his parents are alive. It's great. And he gets to be a billionaire playboy. That's great. Why on earth would he ever want to be involved with Batman? And then you introduce this, pardon the phrase, but we all know what it is, the crazy cat lady.
Ba-dum-bum.
And you want them together? Are you really saying that? By the way, she rips out Alfred's throat.
Yeah. And also in this universe, if I'm not mistaken, Dick Grayson is Batman, and he's a murderous Batman.
Hey.
Because he never had that connection with Bruce Wayne to say killing is wrong and you don't take a life. Killing is wrong and bad, and it is badong. I stand for the opposite of killing, gnadab. I want to know how many of our listeners actually get that reference. I know Deadpool last week was all about the pop culture references. I really do try to keep them to a minimum, but I want to see how many of our listeners get killing is badong. I stand for the opposite of killing, gnadab. If you get that, tweet it to Capes on the Couch or send us an email. I will literally give you a shout out in next week's episode if you can figure out where that reference is from. No interneting, by the way. Don't Google it. Don't look it up. If you know it, tell me. Sorry, I digress. So the point is, Booster, and so we don't know how this is going to play out, because this is like literally within the last couple of weeks. Booster has potentially, irrevocably screwed up the DC timeline by bringing Bruce's parents back to life. Surprise! No murder in an alleyway, no Joe Chill, no slow motion pearls hitting the ground. None of that. But now Bruce Wayne is not Batman.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of character that Booster Gold is. That act really sums it up. Well-intentioned, but as we said, I think it was the Loki episode, Loki or Thanos, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And Booster is just, creating a yellow brick road.
Right.
With every action he takes.
Yep. He has a great, never give up, never think things out attitude. I think people are going to get that reference much better.
Yeah. So his issues, now getting into the psychological issues, he's a glory hound. He is an egomaniac, and this stems from his sense of failure in the future, because he was the quarterback, and he was a great quarterback, a fantastic athlete, but he was a disgrace. He goes back in time to get the fame that he couldn't achieve in his own time. So that sense of failure really sticks with the person. And Doc, if you want to expound on that.
Wow. Adversity is the type of thing that can really change how a person's going to handle situations in the future. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed this statement. I don't always agree with it, but adversity doesn't create character, it reveals it. And Booster definitely is in the reveal category. This is something that he would have done anytime something even partially went wrong. He wanted to make sure that he's remembered in the best light possible. It didn't matter what the reality was. I mean, he's not psychotic, but the point is, he wanted the ultimate good story where he is the number one protagonist and he defeats the villains and he gets the glory in the end. The fact that he couldn't achieve that where he was, the fact that he couldn't achieve that in his own regular life, thanks to comics, he gets opportunity after opportunity after opportunity and does the same thing over and over and over. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
You mean the commonly discredited definition of insanity, the one that's misattributed to Einstein or other people at various points?
Correct.
Yes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We've all heard it. We've all read it online. That one friend of yours on Facebook who can never quite get their life together posts it as proof that this time they're going to finally stop mucking around and actually do things with their life. And we all know in 3 to 6 weeks, they're going to be right back in the exact same pattern that they were. But, let's continue to delude ourselves with a nice inspirational quote with a mountain or river in the background.
The worst thing that could have happened to Booster Gold was having success early in life. When he was a quarterback, and he was a good quarterback, he basically learned early on that all he had to do was show up and he would get something for it. So if you show up more, you get more. I guess, in theory. You and I, we show up to work every day. We get a paycheck. That's true. But his point, for some reason, was because at one point he was considered good, doing the same thing without any change would result to him being great. And that's a total fallacy. There's no one that would ever ascribe to that. We're not
But he would.
Right. I mean, and by when I say do the same thing over and over, I don't mean effort. We're not talking about practice.
Oh, man, I love that quote.
You know how old that is now? I think that's 16 years old.
I was in college. I used to talk about that on my sports radio show.
The anniversary of that just passed, like recently just passed. That great rant by Allen Iverson, which is absolutely idiotic. And actually, I think kind of epitomizes similar to what Booster Gold.
How is practice going to make my teammates better?
That's the part that everyone forgets about that quote.
Oh, that's my favorite part.
Exactly, though. That's what I'm getting at. That's the part that Booster Gold seems to live his life by. You know? How is practice going to make anybody better? How is putting in hard work going to do anything for anyone? All I have to do is be Booster Gold. That's who I am. I'm great. So all I have to do is say I'm great, and everyone's going to think I'm great. So if I show up saying I'm great, then I'm automatically going to get the adulation that indicates I'm great. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure by third grade, people understand that that's not how life works. And
well, some third graders.
Look, man, I know we were in the participation trophy era, but the fact that there are people that have a backlash to that really should tell you something. We all recognize that there are limits. It's not whether or not you're always going to win. It's what you're doing to get there. It's incredible. This guy just has the idea that life is one gigantic participation trophy, and he's just doing everything to put himself on that pedestal and wonders why it's not working.
Wow, I never really considered the participation trophy metaphor, but it really is apt for someone like Booster, who, like you said, shows up and expects to be loved just for being him.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's how it works for you, right? That's how it works for me and it works for everybody. Wait.
No.
I apologize if that was the sound of everyone's, I hope not, of everyone's podcast player just switching to something else because that's the most absurd thing you've ever heard.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I know that in his own mind, and I'm going to segue into the next issue. I know that in his own mind, he thinks that he's great, but he has the potential to be great. He is a phenomenal athlete. He's a charismatic leader, and people do flock to him if he can suppress the more flamboyant aspects of his ego. And if Batman tells you that you have it in you to be a great hero, you're something, because Batman is certainly not known for giving out praise willy-nilly. And that's something that I think we see repeatedly as part of his character development, particularly pre-New 52. But the notion that Booster is, in fact, a great hero if only he would get out of his own way. And so he is very much untapped potential in a hero form. And if you can talk a little bit about that, because I know I certainly could, but I want to get the authentic psychiatric discussion on it.
I'm going to reiterate what I said before about the worst thing that could have happened to him was early success. This is a situation where you need a proper foil. And in a way, he recognizes that at one point by trying to create his own foil, an artificial enemy. It doesn't work out well because he doesn't really know what that enemy is supposed to look like. Because in life, we really shouldn't create enemies. We should be creating goals. We should be creating things that are difficult to achieve over a long period of time. Have sub goals before that so that you don't get discouraged and continue to try and progress towards them. He doesn't see the worth in that. It's incredible to read some of the interactions that he has where people try and point out to him that, in nicer terms, you're a loser. Now, is that accurate? Not really. He's done a lot of good. He's saved a lot of people. But usually when someone challenges you, you can get upset about it, you can react to it, and you can learn from it. You can do something slightly different than what you did before to improve yourself. Or you can think that the person is completely wrong and ignore all feedback. Take a guess as to which way Booster goes most of the time. You know, he'll take positive feedback. He will. He does it with Blue Beetle. He does it with Batman. He does it with the JLI. And not everybody's going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. They're going to critique you. They're going to let you know things that you've done wrong. Take it. It's going to be good because that's how you learn. He's not willing to do that most of the time. So it doesn't matter what natural talents and abilities he has because he's not coachable. When you're not coachable, you're going to end up on the bench.
This definitely speaks to me on a personal level between the problem of success at an early age and then the notion that you only accept the positive feedback and you have difficulty accepting critique. This really was a large portion of my life, and the notion that if you just continue to do the same thing, you'll just get better without any increase in effort. And it's something that over the last couple of years, I've certainly done, made efforts at fixing and trying to take some self-reflection and say, you know what, I know this worked when I was younger, but it's certainly not going to work now. You know, the very first test that I ever really legitimately had to study for was the bar exam, because and this is not in a sense a humble brag. It's just
that's just straight up bragging, dude.
No, but my point is that I was always very academically gifted. I never had to study much. I have an excellent memory in that I can read something once and retain the vast majority of it. So the notion of studying was, all right, I read it over. It's good. It's good. And in grammar school, I was getting straight A's. In high school, I got, almost all straight A's. College, I was continuing to skate by because by this point, I didn't know how to put any effort in, and I never really had to study. And I was getting B's and C's. And then I got to law school and I was getting more B's and C's, and then the bar exam comes along, and that is not a test you can skim for. You have to study. And if you go 20 plus years of your life not really having a work ethic, and then all of a sudden you have to kick it into gear for this one major test that is going to impact your entire future, that's a real kick in the ass. So from the standpoint of someone who has been where Booster was/is, and speaking to the real world applications of it, I can tell you it is difficult at times to grapple with that and to get out of that funk. And I say this not as a humble brag, but just as an honest self-reflection that I've made improvements, but I still struggle even at this day and age. At this point in my life, 36 years old, I still struggle with that occasionally. Understanding that I can't just do what I've always done and continue to succeed. So I empathize with Booster, and I understand where he comes from. So there's another one of those instances where we're talking about a comic book character, but I find some way to learn from it myself. And that's, again, one of the things I love about this podcast is it's a personal therapy for me in some sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to continue to harp on it in a negative way, because part of the reason why I wanted to do this character so much is because Booster is not a superhero. And I mean that now in a positive way. Booster is a regular guy that had some good early breaks in life, some bad breaks after that, and desperately tries to recreate what's happened to him early in life. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with trying to strive for greatness. But to really point out what I think the next big issue is, it's not a free lunch. You really got to put in the time and the effort. In this case, he's looking for the quick fix, the shortcut, instant gratification. The ability to travel through time, thankfully with comics, they get to hit us over and over again, like, very heavy handed with it. And I'm glad that they do it that way, because he's the average Joe. And I think any of us, if we were in that situation, be honest with yourself right now, if you're listening, if you had a situation where someone could say you could go back in time or go forward in time or whatever and change things, I know you can come up with dozens, if not hundreds, of periods of your life where you could just tweak things a little bit so that they were better. You would do it. Or you would try. I understand it. But the reality that we can't may be the biggest blessing that we have because we cherish every moment. We don't get do-overs. This is our one shot. We'll get other opportunities in life as it goes along, but we're not rewinding the tape. Wow, how many of our listeners are even going to understand what that means? We're not going to be able to scroll back 30 seconds on the podcast, okay, just to keep it modern. But the point being, we know that it's precious. The fact that he can just go over and over and over again actually trivializes every action he does, and he doesn't realize it. And he just ends up compounding the mistakes that he's made before.
That's very excellent, and I think speaks to, certainly the reality of the situation. As you said, life is precious because we only get to do it once. Everything we do, we only get to do it once. So you better make it count. And that's half analysis of Booster Gold and half inspirational life advice. You only get to do it once, so make it count. I am not throwing away my shot to bring it to Hamilton.
All right, I'm going to let that one slide because I love Hamilton.
I know you do. So treatment. Let's start, as we always do, with the in-universe. And this is something that we come across with a number of, particularly, obviously, the heroes. How do you treat Booster while still allowing him to be the hero? Because I think some of his dysfunctions are what drive him to do the heroic things. So how do you fix those while keeping the good effects? Or can you?
I basically approach Booster, and I know I can do this because, once again, I know he's a human being just like me. He might have been a better athlete, but he ain't that far above, Most athletes, you're talking, a few percentage points in terms of performance difference when it comes to how you act in life. Hey, Booster, take it off. No, I'm not asking him to strip naked. I'm saying all the gadgets and gizmos. He's not acting like Iron Man, who clearly has shown that he can use it in a way that's benefiting society. He's not Batman, who's able to use all of those tools in a way that's benefiting society. Get rid of it. The time travel stuff, gone. Now it's just you and me. Mano a mano. I'm not asking him to fight. I'm saying, what do you have left? Those other two that I mentioned can talk about their intellect. They can talk about how much training, for example, Bruce Wayne did in the martial arts. They can talk about their philanthropy. They can talk about all of the other things that they're willing to do if you throw away the superficial. I have no idea if Booster can do that. If he can, then you know what? Start from scratch. I don't care what it is. If you really want to protect and serve, go to the police academy, put on a badge, learn how to do it the right way. Join the military, be a man of service. Heck, you're a football player, man. Learn how to coach, be an assistant. Do something. Start from the bottom and see if you still get here. That's the way I think I would approach it, because I don't think he knows anything else. I have no idea what the result of that would be. I mean, he could just brush me off and just, try and change the timeline again. I don't know. But that would be my best effort.
If you're nothing without the suit, you shouldn't have it, like in Spider-Man Homecoming. And I think that was a very valid statement, is coming from someone like Tony, who in the MCU had gone through everything that he had gone through. And he understood that at the end of Iron Man 3, he's Iron Man with or without the suit. He was saying to Peter, who are you without the gadgets? And that's what you would say to Booster. Who are you without Skeets, without the belt, without the goggles, without all of that? What are you capable of? Who are you in the dark when no one else is watching? So now moving to out of universe, we've discussed the egomaniacs, we've discussed the glory hounds, etc. So is there anything different you would say to Booster that you wouldn't say to someone like a real life Tony Stark, etc.?
I'll take a different spin, because saying the same thing again is just not good entertainment. I understand that. So I'm going to be a little more almost like a life coach as opposed to a psychiatrist here. I'm actually going to plug something. It's not, and this is not an advertisement. I'm just saying there are so many variations on this. I'm going to use one of the more recent versions. Okay. There's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And the entire premise of it is studying what makes successful people truly successful? And overwhelmingly, it's the idea that your ability to tolerate discomfort, to push through, to even lean into discomfort, ends up yielding better results than just trying to skirt around things. And that's been shown time and time again. So for someone that, like I said, I'm not going by diagnoses or anything of the sort. For someone that feels like they're struggling to get through the daily grind of life, feel like they can do something more, want to have a greater stage, then by all means, try and take it. But recognize that it's not going to come cheap and it's not going to come easy. Read about it. Learn the tools that you need to accomplish whatever path that it is. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's athletic. I don't care if it's work related. It could be your family, whatever the goal is, find the steps. This doesn't have to be a blind run. And I'll admit, I didn't mention this before. I feel like Booster is trying to change a script that he never read in the first place. If you're going to be a smart ass, try being smart first. Put in the time, put in the effort, put in the work and the due diligence. Whatever the cliche is, 10,000 hours to become the expert in something. Do that. And I guarantee that you're going to be better than you were before. You still may not reach your goal, but that's okay. The other part that I would focus on would be that last sentiment. The idea that what you have is enough. Because there does come a time where you put in so much focus on the future that you forget to enjoy what's going on right now. Booster is a time traveler in part because he can't enjoy the moment. He wants it to be a great moment, but he wants it to be a great moment based on things that he's changed in the past. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not how it works. Enjoy what you have now, work towards a better future, and learn from the past.
Wise words to live by. I do mean that sincerely. And again, I think that speaks to a lot of us. Every single one of us at some point has gotten hung up on things that we wish we could change and things that we wish we could have done so that now would be easier. But as you said earlier, we can't go backwards. We just have what we have. So you try to make the most of it. It is what it is. And I wear that on my bracelet. I wear that bracelet with that saying every day to remind myself you can try to change everything that you can, but you work with what you've got and you roll with it.
Hey, man, like I said, I wanted to go a different direction because I didn't want to repeat just the humdrum ideas of psychiatry and psychology. I refuse to just be a pill pusher because I know that's how a lot of people view me, for better or for worse.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, and I think it definitely makes for a better show. So with all of that in mind, let's get Mr. Carter on the couch and see what happens when Booster Gold meets Dr. Issues.
Hi, Booster. I'm Dr. Issues.
Hi, Booster Gold. Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, we've met. We scheduled.
Who do I make this out to?
I'm sorry?
I personalize all my autograph merchandise. Helps cut down on the scalpers. You wouldn't believe how much of my stuff ends up on eBay. So,
But
I'll just make it out to Dr. Issues. Thanks for everything, Booster. You're welcome, by the way. I also have custom frames for that photo. They're on my website. If you like, I can give you a coupon code to save 50% and get free shipping.
Booster, I'm not here for your autograph.
Sorry. It's just a reflex. So, what can Booster do for you?
Booster? It's the opposite. I clearly need to help you. So, look, can the sales pitch? Let's see if we could bring out the best hero within you.
I don't mean to be rude, Doc, but I've seen how this plays out, and it's okay.
All right, I got you. Okay, in that case, I'm just going to ask my regular questions. So, what's your number one concern at this point that you want to address?
And that's why I don't talk about Michelle.
What?
We didn't get there yet.
Well, I guess we're going there now.
No, please don't.
Booster, look, I'm here to boost your positive side.
This wasn't how it was supposed to go.
What do you mean?
I know how everything plays out. All I had to do was show up and smile, and it would turn out all right.
You know what? Look, there are plenty of times in life where it takes more than just showing up.
Yeah, but the other heroes did all the hard work. And if I was surrounded by them, then I'd get to be a hero too. And everyone would forget about all the things I screwed up, because I could fix them before I broke them.
Booster, maybe if you stopped trying to fix things, they'd stop breaking on you.
But then what kind of hero would I be?
The kind that stops worrying about the past and future and starts working on the right now.
But where's the glory in that?
If you keep asking that question, you'll never get the right answer.
You know something, Doc? I think I understand. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Hi, Booster. I'm...
Dr. Issues, good to see you again.
Again? But
Thanks for everything.
I haven't even...
But you did. You did. I get it now.
But I...
Take care. Oh, and here's that picture. I know you don't sell it on eBay.
But What?
So do you feel like you helped him?
I don't even know when that happened.
But it seemed like he did.
Oh, Booster, what did you do? Oh.
Booster, wherever you are, whenever you are. Good job.
Well, Booster, wherever you are, whenever you are, you must owe me for that session.
Gotta make that money. Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're gonna do it, do the whole thing.
2 for $5s. 2 for $5s here. They're selling garbage down the street. Sorry, I don't want to get into the... Hey, that's good stuff, man. Wu-Tang forever.
Yeah, hey, I'm totally fine with it, man. As a matter of fact, maybe they could have taught Booster some better marketing.
Yeah, that's true. Riz is a marketing genius. Or the Jizz is the genius. I realized it right after I said it. The Jizz is the genius, but the RZA is the marketing mastermind. I'm still waiting for Raekwon to open up a culinary school. But anyway, that's going to finish it for this episode. As we said at the top, we've got our new Patreon. You can check it out, patreon.com/capesonthecouch. We've got a $1, $3, $5, and $10 levels. $1 gets you a thank you and a shout out on the show. $3 gets you early access downloads and a monthly blooper reel filled with all the stuff that doesn't make the final cut. $5 a month gets you the longer, uncensored version of the skit. And also, if you send us any questions, we'll be sure to answer them in advance. And then $10, you can pick a character, one every month, and ask whatever questions you want, and we will do our best to answer them for you. So next week's episode will be Victor Freeze, Mr. Freeze, and that one is going to be a lot of ice puns and Schwarzenegger impressions. I foresee that happening. And then the week after that, we will get into Scott Summers, Cyclops.
Oh, so we go from freezing to summertime. Nice.
Wow. I walked right into that one. And then the week after that, we get into The Question, who, if you're a Justice League Unlimited fan, was definitely one of the best characters on that show.
I'm going to say this so that everyone understands what we're going to get into. Batman referred to him as wound a little too tightly.
Yes. But that's The Question. And like I said, if it means I get to watch more Justice League cartoons as part of research, quote unquote, I'm totally okay with that. So, Doc, anything you want to add before we close out?
No shortcuts in life, people. Work for it. Hustle. Loyalty. Respect.
And his name is John Cena. Well, they can't see us because we're on the podcast. Yeah, you can't see me. What?
That's right. Word life. That's why we're dropping basic thugonomics.
All right, enough of that. For Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.